Charles! Charles, get a hold of yourself.
Hello, Logan. I was just taking a nap.
No, Charles, you're just having another one of your psychic seizures.
Same thing. Logan, I'm a bear now.
Yeah, I can see that. Why?
Ever since Disney bought us, I've taken this form. Logan, you still have time.
Time for what?
Time to record your top 10 films of 2017.
Charles, no, Charles. We're 2 weeks into 2018. No one's gonna watch it.
No one watches them anyway, Logan. You get like 20 views a video.
True. Harsh, but true.
Hopefully now Disney have bought us, we'll get a better budget. I mean, have you seen my wheelchair? You just drew the wheels on.
Hey man, I got a lot on my plate right now. I've got a student loan. I've got rent to pay. It's just been Christmas, man. I'm sorry.
Hurry, Logan, before they get you too.
I'm going.
Hurry, Logan.
There's gotta be a faster way.
Hey! We know each other. You're a friend from work. Anyway, how's your sex life?
I gotta go. I've got somewhere to be, so...
Why don't you try driving, baby?
Hey! I can't drive.
Why don't you try running?
Hey! Oh man. Great Scott.
Oh, 2018. Whoa. We're in the future. This is heavy, man. Hello people of the internet, my name is Dan and today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 films of 2017. I'm only a couple of weeks late. Yay. On the whole, 2017 was a pretty good year. Well, except in politics, because that's never good. I mean, it was good for the film industry. Oh. It was good for the films released in 2017. Oh yeah, there's that. It was a good year for some good films that came out in 2017. And I'll be counting down my top 10 films of 2017, as you probably guessed by the name of the video and the fact that I already said it at the start of the video, because it's not that complicated, I don't know why I'm repeating it. Just a heads up before we get started, I am not including films that came out in 2017 in the UK, but came out in 2016 in the US, so stuff like La La Land and Hacksaw Ridge. Also, there's not a lot of kind of independent, smaller films on here because I haven't got around to watching that. Just because a lot of films don't come out here until this year, so stuff like Coco. Hope you enjoy my top 10 and without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Join me as we go back to 2017. Yay! I'm going to take all this off as well because this is just loads of layers. At number 10, Get Out. I'm just kidding, I'm talking about the film. Funny. Get Out is a horror film directed by Jordan Peele and starring Daniel Kaluuya. It attracted a lot of attention early on when it got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. As a result, I wanted to check this film out, and it was really good. As well as being a really effective horror movie with a lot of good scares, it's also a really great social commentary on race relations, particularly in America. Kaluuya does an incredible job in the lead role, and I'm really loving him at the minute. I saw an episode of Black Mirror with him in, which was really great, and I can't wait for Black Panther this year to see what his role in that is. There's a lot of hype about this film, and a kind of twist ending that it had, Honestly, I could kind of see it coming. Overall, Get Out is a really great film, and it's nice to see a horror film with a bit more substance to it. The entire cast is phenomenal, the directing is phenomenal, it just deserves to be seen. Blumhouse Pictures have done really well with their films this year. Both this and Split were very well received, especially as Split was a Shyamalan film. I also enjoyed Split, but not enough to put it in the top 10. While it was a good horror film, I felt like Get Out had a lot more going on underneath, and therefore was able to hold my interest a lot better. And for that reason, Get Out deserves a place on my top 10 of 2017. At number 9, It. I've never seen the original Tim Curry film, I've never read the Stephen King book, so this was my first real exposure to Pennywise the Clown. And I've got to say, I was really impressed. Like Get Out, the reason I enjoyed it so much was it wasn't just a horror film. Other films I saw this year, like Annabelle Creation, was scary, but that was it. They were just cheap jump scares that tends to be the standard thing with horror films nowadays. But like Get Out, it did something different. Following this cast of kids made it more than just a scary clown film. It was an adventure film, it was a bit of a comedy, it had everything in it and it really worked. It felt a bit like an extended version of Stranger Things, and that's not just because of Finn Wolfhard. I just loved the interactions between the characters, I loved that you could put yourself in those shoes, and I loved that it did have some genuine scares. It managed to take a lot of different elements and mix them all together, and it paid off really well. I'm hoping that both Get Out and It shows a kind of change in the horror movie genre. I'm hoping for more films with substance like these two, because they're really enjoyable, and I've gone from not caring about it to being absolutely ecstatic about the thought of a director's cut and a sequel. At number 8, Star Wars The Last Jedi, directed by Rian Johnson. Yeah, this is a controversial one. I'm gonna be totally honest here. I am not enamoured with the new Star Wars.
Yo, shut the fuck up. Star Wars The Last Jedi is the best film I've ever seen. How dare you even insult it? Rian Johnson is a god.
I mean, yeah, it's good, but there are a lot of flaws in it, and you can't just ignore those because it's a Star Wars film. But, you know, it is overall really enjoyable.
Star Wars The Last Jedi is the worst film I've ever seen. I can't believe it's ruined Star Wars. My childhood is gone.
Look, yeah, I know, but it has merits as well. You know, it's okay for the film just to be average. You can equally balance the good parts and the bad parts. You don't have to choose between loving it and hating it. It can just be in the middle, you know?
The cinematography is amazing.
Disney is
The story
ruining
is
my
amazing.
childhood. I can't believe they've
Acting's
done it.
amazing.
Right, now that that's out of the way, I thought Star Wars The Last Jedi was a very mixed film. For me, it had a lot of really, really good parts, and a lot of really quite fucking stupid parts. I'm trying not to spoil any of these films, but most people have seen this, and I think, you know, if you've ever been on the internet, it's quite clear there is a big division between people who like and dislike this film. I'm actually in the middle. I don't love it and I don't hate it, which means that both sides hate me. Overall, I thought it was a really enjoyable film. I loved Mark Hamill's portrayal of Luke in this, and I was really happy to see him again. A lot of the cinematography and imagery was really nice, particularly involving Luke. You'll probably know what I mean if you've seen it. The returning characters were really cool to see, and it felt good to get a continuation of that story that was set up 2 years ago. On the other side, there were a lot of things that got on my nerves. It didn't feel much like a Star Wars film. I felt it took the comedy too far in places. You can have comedy, that's fine. The Force Awakens did it really effectively. It managed to balance that humour quite well. This, I felt, was more like a Marvel film. And I really like Marvel films, but that formula doesn't work here. One of the films I was really disappointed by this year was Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I really loved the first one, but I felt the second one went really overboard with the comedy. They tried to do some really emotional and impactful moments in that film, and it was just undercut immediately by somebody making a joke that wasn't particularly funny. I felt it was the same with The Last Jedi. I felt that carried over to this. I mean, hell, the film opens with a "your mum" joke. A lot of questions are still left open, and I know we have a third film to fill in those gaps, but at the same time, this feels very conclusive. At the end of Force Awakens, I came out thinking, oh, what's going to happen? What's Luke doing? Why is he on Actor? Who has Rey's parents? Who's Snoke? And coming out of this film, I don't have that. I don't know what to anticipate in the next film. I don't know what could possibly be the story, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just I can't see where they're going to take it from here, other than it being quite a generic Resistance versus First Order, Empire versus Rebellion story. We'll see where they take it from here, and while I did enjoy it overall as an experience, I don't think it would have been as high if it didn't have the Star Wars logo in front. At number 7, Blade Runner 2049. This was a really good film. Like a lot of massive nerds, I'm a big fan of Ridley Scott's Blade Runner from 1982, and the idea of a continuation of that was interesting, but as soon as Denis Villeneuve was attached, quite exciting. Seeing Harrison Ford back as Rick Deckard was great, and I was also really interested in the new characters, Ryan Gosling's Kay in particular. It was just great to be back in this world and see how it's evolved since the original film. The whole story was interesting regarding Rachel from the first film, and the use of CGI was really good. This was just a beautiful, beautiful film, which is to be expected from Villeneuve and Roger Deakins at this point, but still I was blown away by it. If I had a complaint personally, I know the length of the film is a bit off-putting to a lot of people, so it could have been a little bit shorter. Personally, I wasn't a massive fan of the music either. I love Hans Zimmer, but this didn't have that kind of epic electronic score that the original had from Vangelis, and I felt it was missing that personally. Overall, it was a really enjoyable film. It was nice to see a different kind of sci-fi film in cinemas this year other than Star Wars. Whether there's a chance of a third film, I don't know. I don't know if I'd want one. It would depend on the team handling it. But for a film made more than 30 years after the original, this was really good and really effective, and I'm really happy with what we've got. At number 6, Thor Ragnarok, baby, because we've got to have some Marvel films on here because I'm a massive nerd for them. I'm going to be honest again, I hate Thor and I hate Thor the Dark World. Both of those films are boring and slow, and I just don't like them. Despite that, I was really excited for Thor Ragnarok purely because of Taika Waititi. That man is a genius. I've seen a couple of his previous films, Hunt for the Wilder People and What We Do in the Shadows, and he's just brilliant. He is such a funny guy, and it was great to see that incorporated into Marvel. It was nice to see that they just let him run with it. He managed to take the two Avengers I care about the least, Thor and Hulk, and make me love them. The characters were brilliant, Korg in particular, the casting was great, Jeff Goldblum as the Grandmaster was incredible. The worlds were great, Sakaar looked awesome, Doctor Strange was in it, that was great. Overall, it was just a really enjoyable, funny film. I know I've already complained about the overuse of comedy in Guardians 2, but since this was a Taika Waititi film, I was expecting that. And I feel the style of comedy really worked for this kind of buddy cop sort of film that they were going for. I love how this sets up the future as well. We get some glimpses of Thor's character in Infinity War, and I really can't wait to see that this year. Overall, Taika Waititi has done it again. For Ragnarok was a really enjoyable ride. I really enjoyed seeing it, and it's just made me super hyped for Infinity War now. At number 5, The Disaster Artist. Oh, hi doggy. I'm a fan of The Room. I have watched it, and it was an experience. This is also one of the few films where I've actually read the book before seeing it, which was interesting. Overall, I thought it was a very worthy adaptation of Sestero's work. I really enjoyed Franco's portrayal of Tommy Wiseau. It was great to see the story behind the making of The Room, because in some ways that is just as, if not more, interesting than the film itself. And I also just really liked the friendship shown between Sestero and Wiseau. James and Dave Franco did a really good job. It was clearly a passion project for them. In particular, the recreations of scenes from The Room were really enjoyable because I'm familiar with them. If I had any complaints, it would be that quite a bit of the book was left out. I understand that, it's not too much of an issue. Clearly you can't adapt an entire book into one long movie that's going to keep people interested. Just some parts of the book were quite interesting, such as Sestero's relationship with his girlfriend and various road trips that Sestero and Wiseau took. I definitely recommend the book if you've not read it, by the way. It's a really interesting look, and the way that Sestero tells it is really funny. Overall though, it was still a really enjoyable film, one of the best films of the year, clearly, because it's on the list. Like I said, all of the cast were incredible in this film, particularly Franco as Wiseau. It was just really cool to see, and I'm glad that they drew attention to some of the more interesting story behind the scenes, and especially between Wiseau and Sestero's relationship, because that's always something that's been really sweet and always interested me. And it was just great to see that on the big screen. I guess you could say this film deserves a high mark. Am I right? Okay. At number 4, Spider-Man Homecoming! Yes! They finally did a good Spider-Man! This film was amazing. No pun intended. That pun was absolutely intended. This film felt like the first time I'd seen Spider-Man on the big screen. Controversial opinion, I know, but I just don't really like the Tobey Maguire films. Whoa, 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 whoa! Are they gone? Yeah, so, now that that's out of the way, that shield won't stand up. I really liked this film. It was just great to see Peter Parker and Spider-Man as an actual teenager in high school with teenager problems. The whole thing about Spider-Man for me is the fact that he is a relatable character, somebody that I can look at and aspire to. And when I'm in high school going through issues, I can think, Spider-Man can deal with this, so can I. I don't get that when I'm watching a 25-year-old stood in a high school corridor crying, pretending to be a teenager. I don't get that when he is a 25-year-old skating down a high school pretending to be a teenager. This is it. This is the perfect Spider-Man. Again, being honest, I felt like this wasn't going to be very good. I'd just been hurt too many times by Sony, and I thought even with Marvel backing them up here, it might not go well. And especially some of the trailers with them giving away quite a lot of the plot, my hopes were not low, but I was keeping the past in mind. And I've got to say I was really happy with the way that it came out. Like I said, this just felt like the perfect Peter Parker, the perfect adaptation from the comic books. He wasn't just the nerd, he wasn't just the wisecracking guy. He was both. It combined them, finally. I like the way he was integrated into the MCU. I was worried Tony Stark would be in this too much, but he wasn't. I also liked the stakes in this film. There wasn't some massive world-ending apocalyptic threat. There wasn't any massive blue light shining in the sky. It was just some low-life criminals on the streets of New York. This is what Spider-Man is. If you like the Maguire films, that's fine. You like what you like. But personally, I just wanted a more street-level, young, relatable superhero, just like he was in the comics. And that's what we got. It was also cool to see his suit come from Tony Stark. It's always been weird watching him just like scribble down a sketch of a suit and then suddenly he's expertly swinging around New York in some Hollywood-style costume. So that explanation was good. I wasn't a massive fan of the extent of the tech in the suit. Obviously that plays into the plot when the suit is taken from him, and that's not a spoiler because they stuck it in the trailers. And I was glad that he rejected the Iron Spider suit at the end, and I was hoping that he would just get a very low-tech suit that looks the same, just doesn't have all of the various web things and the Jarvis-style AR. I was glad when he rejected it. Was a bit unsure when it popped up in the Infinity War artwork and trailer. But, you know, thinking about it, if he's taking on Thanos in space, he needs something a bit more high-tech than spandex, so I guess it fits for that film, and we'll see how it goes in Homecoming too. But overall, this was just a really enjoyable film. Again, I can't wait to see it get picked up again in Infinity War. At number 3, Dunkirk. Hold on. I'm not a massive fan of Christopher Nolan. Huh. Guess they're gone. Ah, fuck. I feel like this video is my confession. I'm just letting out my opinion here, and I feel I'm gonna be, like, attacked for this, but oh well. Christopher Nolan is a great filmmaker. Christopher Nolan's films are great films. I just don't really wank off to him like a lot of other people seem to do. I don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, he's overrated, but, you know, I just don't always love his film. Again, if you do, cool, you do you, but for me he's always made really great films, but not where I would yell off the top of a roof about how he is the best filmmaker in the world and fight anybody who doesn't agree. Despite all that, I really, really enjoyed Dunkirk, as far as you can enjoy it. It was more of an experience than a film. I liked the kind of smaller scale in comparison to his previous films. There wasn't some weird twist where love could transcend time and therefore a bloody Spitfire could go forward into the future or whatever they probably wanted to do. I liked that it was just a film that followed a varying group of characters into war. It was a really exhilarating watch. I watched this in 70mm IMAX, which was kind of the way it was advertised to be seen. And just, particularly the sound design was just really amazing. The characters weren't massively developed, which was intentional, so you could project yourself onto them and their roles. And it was just really harrowing, to be honest, to see it. I like the way Nolan covered the fight on the land and in the sea and in the air. It was really interesting to see the varying perspectives. I thought it was a really great war film. It's a really great film in general, and I think I'm going to be honest, it is my favourite Nolan film. So yeah, definitely watch this film just for the experience of it. It's just breathtaking to behold and really well made. At number 2, Logan. I really enjoyed Logan. Let's be honest here, guys. Fox's output recently has been lackluster. X-Men Apocalypse in particular was very disappointing. And James Mangold's previous Wolverine standalone, The Wolverine, it was good, but it wasn't great. And now we have Logan, which was more than great. It was just straight up breathtaking. Knowing that this was Hugh Jackman's last time as Wolverine, even going in, it was emotional. And the whole film throughout just shredded at you emotionally. It was beautifully shot with this kind of western feel and colour palette. It looked really, really nice. Seeing where Professor X and Wolverine ended up and how they exist in the future, it was just... This year has been a really good year for superhero films, with a female-led film, a good SpiderMan film, a good Thor film, and more experimenting with R-rated films. I'm not saying it is good purely because it is R-rated, but I feel that really helped the story. It really showed this raw emotion, this anger and violence welling up inside of Logan. It just really lent itself to the film and made it really effective in telling the story. Overall, I really enjoyed it. It's the second best film I saw in the year, and I'm just really sad, to be honest, that it's kind of come to an end of Hugh Jackman. Obviously now Disney have bought Fox. We'll see where it'll go from there, and we have X-Men Dark Phoenix coming out this year, though don't expect to see that on this year's top 10. I think with Deadpool and this, I really am starting to like Fox's kind of more experimental output, and I'm looking forward to New Mutants in particular when that comes out. And number 1, I think you could probably guess what this is going to be. Baby Driver. I really enjoyed this film. It was great to see an original film with an original story with original characters, something I wasn't familiar with and something new to experience. Edgar Wright's style of directing and editing, as per usual, was just incredible to see. As an editor myself, I just love seeing the little things that he does. The music was great in the way it was incorporated into the story. It felt a little bit Guardians of the Galaxy to a degree, but it still managed to effectively pull it off without feeling like it was just ripping it off, like Suicide Squad. The car chases were really well shot and exhilarating to watch. The storyline and the romance was really cool to see develop. I felt some genuine emotion there. The costume design, the music, the comedy was really funny. It was just a really well done, competent film, and an original one at that. Baby Driver was just really exciting to watch, and on subsequent rewatches it's really exciting still. It's obviously very different to Edgar Wright's previous films because it's more American than the Cornetto trilogy, but it was still really enjoyable, exciting film. I'm excited to see what he will do next. There is talk of a sequel to this. I'm not sure if I want that because the joy of this was because it was new and different, but I have confidence in Wright that he could pull something great off again in this world. Baby Driver, in my opinion, is the best film we have gotten out of 2017 that I have seen. Like I said, it's been a really good year for film. We've had higher quality and varied superhero films, we've had more horror films with substance behind them, we've had quite a few interesting standalone original films. It's just been really cool to see this kind of varied selection that we've had this year. 2018 looks to also be an incredible and exciting year for films. Looking alone at the list, we've got Avengers, Black Panther, Ant-Man, we've got Deadpool, we've got Infinity War, The Incredibles, we've got a couple of interesting looking sequels, Jurassic World 2 and Pacific Rim 2. and a lot of interesting looking films like Annihilation and Isle of Dogs, and also Ready Player One from Spielberg. Overall, it looks like it's going to be an exciting and busy year for film, and I can't wait to just get watching. I hope you will join me again in about a year's time for my top 10 of 2018. If I'm still making YouTube videos and haven't given up by then, or if somebody has beaten me up because I said some controversial things in this video. Thanks for watching. Bye. I did it, Charles. I did it.
Good job, Logan, but why did you put our film at number 2? You dick. Speaking of the number 2, you can catch me in 2017's real masterpiece, the Emoji Movie, as number 2.
Charles, no one wants to see that shit movie. No pun intended.
Logan, stop. Can you hear them? They're coming.
Hear who, Charles? Who's coming?
Hi, everybody. All right.
Oh no. No, no. This can't be. No, but I did the review. I did the video.
It's too late.
Charles!
Everybody's here.
Oh God, Charles. Charles, talk to me.
It's too late, Logan.
No. Charles, what do you mean it's too late? No, no. No!
You alright, Logan? Bad dream?
Oh God.